So, hey guys, it's Ryan here. This is an introduction to our project for the Argument Without Borders. So, I want to let you know the first part's a surprise. I'm not going to spoil what that is. So, you'll see that. And then you're also going to see us portray the article we were given in the form of sort of play or book narration. It's pretty cool, and hopefully you stick around for the ending, because the ending is interview questions pertaining to our topic, but talking about it nowadays instead of way back when. So I really hope you guys like this, and I really hope you enjoy the beginning of this. So let's get right into it. Look, you got RJ Dizzy Dog on the track, my boy DJ Austin, and my other boy Lil Tonio. We're about to tell you about Elmer Bowling. This is how it went. Elmer Bowling, his brothers called him Buddy. He was known as the one-man economy. He was on a come up, he was about to soar. Little did he know he was walking in a war. It happened in December of 1947. He was shot 7 times, he was sent straight to heaven.
Everybody know who's that, and everybody know why. For a black man working, he was totally that guy. Had a few couple thousands, and that's the reason why he was shot 7 times by all them white guys.
Have 40,000 up in the bank. Buy 5,000 in assets. That's the same as a $500,000. That's why the white man came and snatched it. They don't want to see him eat. Can't stand the fact that he winning, when in reality he was just working hard to try and take care of his children. Yeah, how y'all doing? I appreciate it. I appreciate the applause, honestly. This is DJ Austin. I really hope you guys enjoyed that rap. I have something amazing for you guys coming up next. It's going to be really a dialogue and a play, honestly, consisting of me, Antonio, and Ryan, basically giving you a more behind the scenes view of what really goes on, what really went on with that rap. So I can't wait to introduce it to you guys. That's what's coming up next. Enjoy.
Good morning, classmates. Now, just as a quick disclaimer, this is meant for educational purposes only. And this is not to offend anyone. This is a portrayed script of the wealth gap article we were assigned in this class. Therefore, without further ado, let us now begin. This scene is the lives of an African American, Antonio, and a white American, Ryan, post-Civil War. Antonio is a hard-working African American who makes little to no money following the Civil War, whereas Ryan is a young adult in a white family post-Civil War era. The Civil War era is considered to be the 1860s in this scenario. Behind Antonio is his family and the home he lived in, and behind Ryan is the home he lived in. Let's see what they're up to.
I've been working all damn day. You mean to tell me I only brought home $3?
Wow, I've only worked for like, I don't know, 10 minutes, and I've already made like $20.
Now, keep in mind that African Americans during the Civil War made up approximately 13% of the US population and only held less than 3% of the wealth.
Wow, my family just made over $170,000 this year alone. We might just go and buy another house. We
Just a
have so
quick
much
correction
money.
here. He meant to say a combined amount of
I've been
$700,
hungry for
not
food like forever,
17,000.
man. My whole family makes a combined amount of 17,000. 17,000 in 1 year. We can barely afford to pay our bills.
Now, here's something to keep in mind. Legal slavery ended in 1865, bringing new hopes for African Americans and their families. A savings bank was created in order to help former slaves get on their feet and start investing into the economy. This next scene shows the Reconstruction period where African Americans were promised compensation rights and 40-acre plots for reallocation for African American families.
Things are looking up again for us. You hear that, family? We about to get some land to live on. Most importantly, equal rights.
Well, why doesn't my family just go and find a way to take money from the savings bank just to buy more land, even though the money's not ours and neither is land, but who cares?
Now, at this point, Lincoln was now assassinated, meaning Vice President Andrew Johnson came to presidency and he declared that the country is a white man's country and immediately removed Abraham Lincoln's 40-acre plot allocation to African Americans. The African Americans who put money into the banks now lost all of it, which put white families back into stronger and higher powers.
I can't believe this. Just as soon as things was looking up, we got shot down like always. My family, I never catch a break. You hear me, family? We work so hard, but always get little. Why can't we all be treated equal, with equal rights? African Americans would never make as much as white Americans, man. Never.
I don't know what happened, but my family just got like an extra $50,000 because the president just redistributed someone else's money to all white families. I, I guess I'm not complaining.
Now let's move to the South. Jim Crow laws were put in place that would take freedoms away from African Americans. Violence from white Americans on African Americans increased. These included beating, hitting, racial slurs, and robbing them for the little money that they had. This is also around the time where redlining was put in place. Now, if you don't know what that is, let me explain. Redlining was where African American neighborhoods would be marked red on a map to signify that it is a dangerous place to be in.
I feel like they are continuously racially profiling us, family. I'm working hard, can't afford a decent home. Even if I could afford a decent home, I don't even have rights to own a decent home because the goddamn redlining that's in place. It's all trapping us into poverty. Almost seems like we'll never find a way out.
I don't quite understand what's going on, but it just seems to be unfair. Why can't we all just live in a society where we can get along and operate and be treated as equals? I just can't seem to find a reason that we can't all coexist in society. We need to have a change, a permanent change. This is unacceptable, and we should all be treated as equals, regardless to income and race. This is called the United States for a reason, so we should all unite and be treated on equal levels.
Now, as you probably observed, this is where Ryan's character reasoned that things weren't right or fair, and society wants everyone to be treated fair and equally at the end of the day. Younger men in these days were influenced by their surrounding elders in what to believe in and how to act. Ryan found his own voice and wants to create change. The next dialogue you're about to hear resembles the 70 years following the war and the breakdown of each other.
Okay, the rap you heard earlier was me simply depicting the story of Elmer Bowling. His grandchildren and great-grandchildren are treated more equal and were never even known of a life that they were treated such as their grandfather. His story will continue to live on forever to show the injustice time in America where people of color had to live through. My character in this act portrayed the life of an average African American during the Civil War and shortly after. You were able to see why African Americans were oppressed and the large gap in wealth from white families.
Now, in the play, you will see me depicting a young adult in a white family during the Civil War and shortly after. Now, my character wasn't sure what was going on in society because a lot of people were kind of delusionalized by their families, significant others, or anybody for that matter. All he knew was that his family kept gaining money and wealth. My character showed the life of an average white young adult living in an upper middle class family during this time. All my character's thoughts and ideas were sheltered by the elders it surrounded, which was very common during this time. He started to form his own opinion and voice and expressed that he realized the injustice and wanted to make change in society because all humans are and should be considered equal. Now we're going to move on to interviews where you will see what we think about the wealth gap in current day society. Thank you.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for continuously tuning in our video. The last part you seen was us, of course, acting out a play. However, we are now transitioning to our last and final part of the video, which will be interviews where we are talking about the wealth gap, the redlining, and evictions. Thank
All
you.
right, so I am currently here with Austin, aka DJ Austin, or Austin James. So I'm going to be asking him a few questions. Oh my God. All right, so here we go. The first one, the wealth gap. That's what our whole assignment's on. What are your opinions on the wealth gap that used to be in place during Elmer Bowling's time and slightly after? And what about even now? So let's start with how did you feel? What are your opinions on it about how it used to be back then?
Well, obviously, I don't consider myself an expert at knowing everything about that wealth gap, but after reading the Elmer Bowling story, it was very clear that he worked for a lot to support his family, and he was successful more than most African Americans, and because of that, he was seen as a threat, not any type of inspiration by the majority of white people, and that was very sad because at the end of the day, he's doing more work than most people to support his family. So the moment he starts really seeing success in terms of his financial income, he's instantly seen as someone that has to be eliminated. And to be in that type of society today, living in that type of society today would be terrifying. So that really makes me have respect for, really what they had to go through, because that's incredibly disgusting to think about.
Absolutely.
Hey, Ryan, how's it going?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Pretty good, sir. Thank you for having me. However, I'm here to ask you about redlining.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on redlining today compared from back in the day during Emmett Bowen time?
Okay. So we're gonna start with the first part. We're gonna talk about Elmer Bowling's time. So back in Elmer Bowling's time, redlining was used to kind of trap African Americans in one area, and it was actually marked on a map in like red ink or red of some sort to signify a dangerous area. And I think it's awful. Not only does it affect people's self-conscious about the current situation, it also didn't promote people growing economically. And I think it kind of condensed all the African Americans during that time into one area. And I think it kind of leads into today. Maybe not in the same aspect as it used to be, but I think when you hear the terms ghetto, the slang term ghetto, that's what you're thinking of. It's people identify it automatically as a dangerous place to live in, and I think that's awful. I don't think you should be putting a title on number one where people live or the way people live. And I think it kind of really messes people up mentally. And just like it did back then, and the same way it does now, the term redlining always has a negative connotation. And I think that's an awful thing. I think all people should have equal rights in, economic growth, um, and increasing their well-being for themselves. And I think that's what redlining does specifically today is, and the same way as back then as well, but it kind of shelters them. And I think it's really awful. And I think it was awful how the African Americans in those redline territories were treated.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank
Well
you.
agreed.
How are you doing tonight, Antonio?
I'm doing well, Mr. Austin. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing great. Hey, I really appreciate you for asking that. I'm only going to ask you one question, and that is concerning how eviction and exclusion was done back in the day and really comparing it to what it is like now. What are your thoughts on that?
Back in the day, it was very harsh, very, especially towards African Americans. Back in the day, African Americans had no rights. They had no rights to vote. They barely had rights over the property or places that they can live because of redlining. So my thoughts on it back in the day was harsh. It was crucial, but over time, over these past decades, it have got a lot better. And I say that because Black African Americans, we can now vote. We now have rights over what we own and things of that nature. So when I look at eviction and inclusions now, it might still be there because of people not being able to pay their rent on time, or bills past due, or owing the IRS for whatever reason. That's mainly why Black African Americans are being convicted now. But one good thing is we have rights to what we own. We have rights to the laws that we vote on. So it's kind of like we getting back in position now, and I see evictions and exclusions kind of slowing down a little bit, to be honest, and we're headed in a great place with that.
That is a great answer, my friend. Thank you for blessing me with your knowledge.
No problem, anytime, sir.
So we hope you enjoyed our project, but before we go, clearly anything that you record, especially over Zoom or something along those lines, definitely is going to have some things go not according to plan. So we decided to add a short blooper reel, so hope you guys like it.
I've been working all damn day. What happened, bro?
What happened? You missed like half the lines.
He's a young adult in a white family post-Civil War era. The Civil War era is considered to be 1860s in this scenario.
I've been working all damn day.
Meaning Vice President Andrew Johnson came to presidency, and he declared that the country is a white man's country, and immediately resigned Abraham Lincoln's 40-acre. Guys, I don't know how to pronounce that word. How do you say resigned it? How do you pronounce it? I don't know how to say that. Remember that legal slavery ended.
No, stop. We got.
You took too long.
Because he stopped in my thing. He literally was like, and my connection is bad.
It wasn't. No. His Antonia's connection just shit out so hard on my side.
So it wasn't my fault.
No, it was him. I was dying.
Because he was like,